I've got to admit, my poor dad has told me numerous stories of my entitled Aunt Sarah, 50F, fake name, so I wanted to write these down because there are a few I want to remember before I, 21F, forget. Some background: my Aunt Sarah is the eldest of 3 kids. There's her, then my Aunt Tori, 47F, fake name, and my dad, 46M. All players have their own kids. Sarah has 3 boys, important for later. Tori has 3 girls, my dad has a boy and a girl. Feel free to share, I'd be happy to share more stories as my entitled aunt isn't the only entitled woman in my family. The beginning: Sarah was deemed the brain of Britain growing up, always top of her class and never getting into bother at school. She willingly stayed until the last year of high school so she could get better grades to go to university. Mind you, this is the 80s and I don't really know if there was tuition covered in Scotland, but I doubt it. So Sarah declared she would be taking a gap year to work and go to university the following year at 19. However, she met her future husband Twatface, Tia from here, and he was from a decently well-off family. This is what my Aunt Tori declares is the start of her entitlement, since TF told her she never had to work a day again if they got married. They didn't marry until 2 years later, but TF gave Sarah the life she wanted and felt she deserved after a childhood of poverty and hiding from social workers. Fair to say, she never did apply for university at 19, or any point after that. My grandfather, her father, was so angry with her because he felt she was wasting her future for a life of sitting about. Marriage and children: yes, Tiaf and Sarah did get married and it was a lovely affair apparently. I didn't even know, I wasn't born yet. Now, I should mention that Mai is incredibly religious and this was brought on more by her marriage. She had to wait until she was married to have a child because the elders in the church will speak so badly if I had a child out of wedlock. Woman, this was the 90s. In Scotland, well, in the mid-90s, Sarah announced she was expecting a baby boy with TF and the family went insane. This was the first grandchild, but then, Tori also announced she was pregnant 2 weeks later and announced it was a baby girl. This set off Sarah because she developed a sick obsession with having a girl. Before the end of the 90s, Sarah had managed to have the firstborn and 2 boys. Tori managed to have 2 girls and Nick had my older brother. So 5 grandkids in total. After the millennium, my dad had announced that my mum was pregnant again and so did Tori, which was unexpected. So, just a few months apart, I was born in May and my little cousin in September. Now, I'll never guess what Sarah did. Got pregnant again. She was told at scans that she was having a girl. She was ecstatic. However, the doctor was beyond stupid and my youngest cousin was a boy. She was so depressed and turned on her sister and brother, berated them for having children out of wedlock and saying that they were going to hell and deserved to burn for rubbing it in her face that they managed to have girls. This actually caused no contact for a few months between my dad and Sarah. However, all this changed once we started to visit her. Give me your daughter, Shas, my golden child. Surprisingly, I do remember this despite being like 4 years old. By this point, my parents were married so the wedlock issue stopped. But Sarah had become quite possessive over me over the last year. When I saw her, I had to stick by her side or stay within reach of her. I was lucky, my 2 older cousins told her to go do one, in young kid speech, so I could go play Pokemon and watch Power Rangers with them. On one visit, nearly at my 5th birthday, I was downstairs with my little cousin and we were playing when my dad told me to get my shoes on so we could get home for dinner. I remember looking up and seeing Sarah death glare at my dad. Now, this is 16-year-old memories mixed in with paraphrasing from my dad, but this is the exchange that happened. Sarah, go home. I told you I wanted her to stay the night. Dad, Sarah, I told you already. Shas going to go see Tori and the girls tomorrow. Sarah, scoffs, you're prioritizing your nieces. Again. I told you, Nick, she is my golden child, mine. She is going to stay here tonight so we can have a girls' night. Dad, Sarah, oh my God, will you shut up about this? You never got a girl, get over it. Shas my daughter, so if you don't shut up, I'll make sure you never see her again. Fair to say, I was able to go home with my dad and I didn't really see my cousins for a few months. It was on and off visits until I was about 7 and then they moved up north for TFS job. Out of wedlock bites Sarah on the ass. This has got to be a fan favorite tale of mine. Mainly because I was there to witness it. Now, my eldest cousin was 19 at this time so I was 13. I had seen him the previous week for a visit and he told me that he's going to be announcing some really good news on a family group call. As soon as I joined the call, I was lambasted by Sarah for wearing a football top and told to change it. She hated that I was not the once innocent little girl she knew but a tomboy. However, that's for another day. Now, I sat with my dad and my brother whilst he joined the call with his girlfriend P. We thought he was announcing an engagement. Nope. And P announced that they were pregnant and expecting a baby in November. I screamed in delight. My dad was proud of her. My brother was so pleased. My granddad already knew. Sarah and Tiaf looked pale, about to faint, and started screaming at her. Sarah demanded we leave the call, and we did. I was horrified at her reaction, but my dad told me not to worry. And this is how I was told the previous stories I have mentioned above. Sarah was seriously so entitled because she wanted everything her way, and the fact her eldest son was having a child before the age of 20 with his girlfriend of 9 months and refused to get married set her off. I had to cut contact from P being 3 months pregnant until just before his daughter was born. You'd never believe now that Sarah is a doting grandmother to the now 6-year-old daughter of her after all she put her son through. I've actually yet to meet her in the flesh. I've only met her on video call, but that's just life when you're 200 miles apart. Bragging about your lifestyle at a wedding. Now, this is a more recent story. My dad attended his cousin's wedding about 4 years ago, and Sarah was actually invited. No idea who thought that was a good idea. To preface this story, I need to explain something. Do you remember how I said Sarah was promised to never work again once she married TF? Yeah, that backfired. TF lost his high-paying job and was forced into a crappy office job for a few years. Because Sarah couldn't live her lifestyle, she had to get a job for the first time in 26 years and was brought back down to earth. Now, I wasn't at this wedding, but my dad informed me that Sarah was showing how entitled she was again. She sat with a cousin of theirs, my dad and my mum, and began to detail how they were going back home to go on a yacht. No, not their yacht, their friends. And not a yacht but a decent-sized boat. This lasted 45 minutes, and the cousin had to walk away before telling her to F off and save this for a more appropriate occasion. To conclude, my dad hasn't actually seen Sarah in about 3 years. They never spoke for 10 years because my dad realized how one-sided their relationship was. He decided after she moved to not text her and see how long it would take for her to text him. From when he did that, she hasn't ever once. Dad only speaks to her and doesn't bother with Sarah's other sons. My brother talks to all 3 of them. I only talk to her as well as is helping me with some uni stuff. Sarah will never change. She never thanked us for her 50th birthday posts, or the present and card we sent up to her. She hates the fact that I'm the first granddaughter to go to university and pushed one of her sons to be a teacher too. Screw you, Sarah. You just prioritize your own lifestyle than loving your nieces and nephew.